Hello and welcome back to another video. I am Angst, but you can call me Katie. We live in an age where the racial divide is growing, and racial relations are far worse than they were in the 1990s LA riots. I know what you're thinking. You thought this shit was over too? Well, apparently not. So let's talk about everything wrong on the surface with Black Lives Matter.
No! Damn it! How about me? Oh fuck!
That's so cute.
Batman's the most safe person.
Over the past year, a movement and organization consisting predominantly of young black people, along with a few white members and minorities who agree with the cause, has dominated national news coverage and gained support throughout the nation through many ways much like modern feminism, lies, false information, and hearsay. Now, on the other hand, many black or African American people have talked poorly about the movement, primarily for their protest methods, which we'll get to in just a moment. I've probably had this discussion on Facebook and Twitter a solid dozen times combined. The BLM movement, or Black Lives Matter movement, is not as pure as it would like you to think, and it's simple to catch on to with just a couple moments of focus during news coverage on their so-called rallies or protests. However, it's important that we all acknowledge there are or were members of the movement who sought to protest and have a conversation without these controversial and often illegal methods that the majority of the movement took to. A shocking number of members or affiliates are still continuing to engage in violent behavior that is absolutely counterproductive to what they're trying to achieve. If you don't want to be treated like a criminal, try not acting like one in your own protests. I personally don't believe BLM is engaging in these actions to appeal to their fans or fellow members, and certainly not to the majority of Americans, but rather, they seem to be getting out their anger and frustration, which has undoubtedly been aggravated and enabled, like an angry bear, by the liberal left through lies in the media. The group claims police brutality is their #1 cause of death, when in reality they kill their own people at a far higher rate. They also claim police brutality in cases where the victim was not necessarily innocent, but causing problems and had been reported as a threat, in some cases an armed threat. In cases of true brutality, an officer is stripped of their title and removed from the job following the case being looked into, and often a court case as well. Officers accused of brutality are almost always put on suspended pay pending an investigation. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the violence the Black Lives Matter movement is known for, it consists of destruction of public and private property. That includes storefront windows, parks, vehicles, homes, and so on. Their violence doesn't end with objects and structures, though. It extends to police officers in the form of throwing and attempting to hit them with things such as bricks, rocks, and glass bottles, as well as chanting hateful slurs and wishing death to them. Keeping in mind, these officers are there to protect the protesters from those who wish to harm them or their cause, intentionally or not. Officers only turn to fully defend against a protest or rally when it becomes out of control, when it becomes a riot, which most of us would note this is the case for nearly every BLM so-called protest we've seen and heard about in the past year. The BLM also seems to enjoy more illegal activity through blocking freeways, highways, or interstates dependent upon the location of the rally, all of which are not only inconsiderate and insanely stupid, but illegal in every state I bothered to look up laws for. Of the officers accused but not convicted due to innocence or lack of information to prove guilt, they're usually an outcast in their own town or city and treated very poorly. These officers all feel guilt over taking a life. That's a last resort in defense for themselves and those around them, and they do not take it lightly. There have been several petitions and discussions directed toward legal officials to consider the BLM a domestic terrorist group or organization. Terrorism can be defined as the use of violence and intimidation in pursuit of political aims. This definition is the same definition used to declare ISIS and other groups as terrorist organizations. Black Lives Matter has earned this title due to its violent actions in a variety of cities and their influence in the killings of multiple police officers throughout the United States. This group has already been described as a hate group because of its words and actions surrounding racism, police hate, incitement of police murder, violence, and segregation, as well as being openly anti-US Constitution. Those are the facts without getting into the deep end. And that's gonna be it for this video. Like, comment, and share as you please, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.